The blind leading the blind. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, when you think about the past decade, 2016 until now, I don't think there'd be much argument that the most consequential events were the election 2 times of Donald Trump and the COVID-19 pandemic. And as it turns out, both Trump and the pandemic broke whatever was left of the so-called mainstream press. So despite their relentless con job on Russia collusion, and despite their efforts to tag Trump as an insurrectionist after January 6, Trump cruised to victory in 2024. The media, who invested years, professionally years, of their lives trying to take Trump down, they're never going to get over this. And every day they see President Trump in the Oval Office, it's like another scratch at their scabbed-over egos. They're disgusted by you, one of the 77 million Americans who voted for Trump. But they shouldn't be mad at the people. The media should be mad at themselves for not understanding the country better. But if you thought that the release of the Fauci diaries would have forced the establishment press to have a moment, just a brief moment of self-reflection, well, you'd be wrong. CBS, under new leadership, no less, still gave the story this framing.
Newly released diary entries by Dr. Anthony Fauci are shedding light on his soaring notoriety during the COVID epidemic. The documents released by Republican Senator Rand Paul include Fauci's reflections about being invited to A-list parties, calls with Barbra Streisand, but also some uncertainty about the origin of COVID.
Some uncertainty. No uncertainty. Well, as lame as that intro is, it's better than some of the other networks through yesterday morning. According to Media Research Center, none of the majors covered the Fauci story, hoping instead to preserve his saintly image that they themselves helped create. Well, a saintly image is exactly what the entire media complex foisted upon Anthony Fauci, and no one was more fawning than CNN.
You are seen to many as a superhero, but you are a human being, and you've been working nonstop. How do you keep yourself going in the face of all of this death and disease?
It's really just focusing on the enormity of the problem and the fact that I do have a role in the response to this problem.
Oh, his role, just focusing on the enormity of the problem? Yeah. And how well his bobblehead dolls were selling. He was interested in that as well. Now, we should note that the Fauci story did finally get a mention last night on CNN, and this is how it went down.
I think one situation that, frankly, where we saw the government was certainly obfuscating, didn't have any transparency, was Anthony Fauci, who were getting his diaries today, where he was purposely obfuscating about
Anthony
that's actually something where we know he was purposely obfuscating.
Lydia, we're sitting here talking about Americans who were killed in theater, okay, as a result of a war. We are not going to pivot to Anthony Fauci's diaries.
We're not going to pivot. Of course she's not going to pivot. God, you see, for the media to admit how wrong they got Fauci would be akin to their admitting how wrong they were about the fact that Trump understood politics better than they ever did. And they're never going to concede that. Never. So this glaring blind spot means that they can't be trusted to objectively analyze anything that calls into question their own left-leaning worldview. And sadly, the Democrat leadership suffers from the same affliction. They're so power-hungry and so twisted by TDS that they couldn't see that hating Trump was never enough to keep their party going.
Look now in 2026. We're not just talking down there underneath the Potomac. We're talking down there with the Titanic. We're talking 24 points underwater. And this is just the party overall. This isn't the congressional leadership. This is the party. The party. It's just a terrible, terrible, terrible brand.
Anton's pretty fair to both parties on these polls. But wait a second. Didn't the media tell us that the Republicans were likely to get blown out in November? It was all but a certainty. You might as well just not even vote. It doesn't seem like the DNC thinks so, because a few weeks back, a stressed-out DNC chair, Ken Martin, reportedly threw his phone at a junior aide's desk at party headquarters under mounting financial and political tensions. New York Times reported that, so did Fox News. Things are so bad for the Democrats, they took out a loan also against their own office building to secure a $15 million credit line. So if Republicans are supposedly being dragged down by Donald Trump, why the heck are Republicans killing Democrats right now in fundraising? Well, the truth is, the Democrats and the media, they are going to slobber over anyone they think can help them stop Trump. They're not going to see the facts right in front of them. That's why they protected Fauci. That's why they covered for Biden and ran defense for Kamala. And that's why they've been ignoring the obvious warning signs about the Democrat socialists and people in Maine like Graham Plattner. But of course, the facts are stubborn things. All the things they ignored were disasters. One after the other imploded. So what's next? Well, they run to slobber on their new guy in Maine.
A lot of their money is going to go towards ads calling you a communist, and they're going to get help from the co-chair of the DSA, who said she wanted to abolish the Senate, get rid of the president, get rid of the Supreme Court, empty the jails, stop funding national defense, erase the borders, defund the police. Do you support any of those things?
No. I mean, but what I do support is a government that works for everyday, people.
I like how they're laughing it off. Oh, that list of things. It doesn't matter. Well, of course, Jackson supports all of the above. A couple more questions would have revealed that. Because it is virtually impossible to survive as a Democrat in Maine and many other states and not sign on to the DSA agenda. So no matter how much the press tries to help them smooth out the socialist edges, the truth is the old Democrat Party has allowed itself to be swallowed up by the nut jobs.
I don't think ICE needs to exist. For the better part of our country's history, we did not have an ICE, and I think we can do a much better job when it comes to immigration without one. So yeah, I'm going to take the bullhorn, and I'm going to say that I think we need to abolish ICE because I am not afraid of what they're going to say about me.
No, he's not afraid. Of course, the real question is what the voters in Michigan will have to say if somehow El-Sayed wins his Senate primary. Now, a guy who actually does know how to win as a Democrat, and he did it for Obama, seems a little worried.
Michigan is a seat the Democrats absolutely have to have. There's no scenario they can lose Michigan and win the United States Senate. And this is a debate between two wings of the Democratic Party. Democrats can't get pulled into a fight on communism and got to stay where they are right now, which is cost of living.
Well, good advice. But of course, to that issue of cost of living, Republicans have an easy response. Imagine what the cost of living will be if another 20 million illegals are allowed into this country. And what your life will be like if criminals fear no punishment. If the socialists take over major industries and the rationing begins. Socialists can't run the country if they can't run Seattle. So smart Democrats, Messina, he sees this, but they're afraid to really say it in stark terms. And that's why they're in political trouble today. So just as the Dems and their media apparatchiks ignored obvious concerns about Fauci and the COVID lockdowns, just as they ignored Biden's decline, they're now doing the same with the threat that the socialists pose to their party and the nation. That is bad politics, and that's the angle.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.